Hi friends, this is Anna with Scrapping, Stamping, and Stuff. I'm back with part 4 of my new video series on this new Stampin Cut and Emboss machine from Stampin Up. I am loving this machine. It is beautiful. It works really well. And I've talked in my first three videos about the machine itself, features, how it works, and how to use it. And then I compared this machine to our previous machine. And in video 3, I answered some frequently asked questions about it. I have been talking, especially in the other videos, about how well this machine cuts and embosses on the first try, but I don't want you to believe me. I want to show you right now. So this video will be unedited, just like the rest of my videos, and I want to run through, we're going to test 2 problem types of dies that often would not cut on your first try with an average machine. And we're also going to emboss a sample that I have done before that did not emboss fully with my previous machine. So first we will do a couple of die cuts. Now when we are die cutting, we need base plate 1, 2, and both 3 plates. Keep in mind, this is the one I've started cutting into here. You want to only cut into 1 plate. Now, if you want some more information on that and preventing warping and bending for your cutting plates, you can check out my video that I made on that. So put my paper down. This is one of these large butterfly dies from the Beauty Butterfly set. If you've used large dies like this before, large detailed dies, you know that they can be difficult to get to cut. So right now I'm going to cut this and I am going to send it through once, and I am just going to crank it backwards to basically take it through a second time, and then we will take it out and I'll show you the results. So I had made a project a while back with the same die and the same copper foil embossing paper. So when you use these products together, it can be very difficult to get this die, this large detail die, to cut all the way through that copper foil embossing paper. It's got a little bit of a plastic film on the back, and it's hard to get it to cut all the way through that film. So when I got my machine, this was one of the first products I tested. I wanted to know, is this die going to cut fully on the same paper as when I worked on it a few months ago? I had to run this through at least 6 or 8 times, and I had to move it around to different places on my platform to get it to cut fully. So you just saw I ran it through once. Now I brought it back. Now I should have grabbed my brush to roll this out of here, but I didn't, so I'm doing it the hard way. But I'm working it out bit by bit, and in a moment, hopefully I could show you what this looks like. Okay, that was a little bit of work, but do you see this? When I did this before, I had to run it through, like I said, 6 or 8 times on different places on my platform, and then I still had to work really hard at getting these small pieces poked out of the holes. A complete cut with 1 pass through and 1 pass back. So that was test number 1. Let's move on to test number 2. And test number 2 is a long, narrow die, which I've told you I would always suggest using a die like this and running it through your machine this direction. But just to give my new machine a nice, good test, I wanted to run it through this way, because with my previous machine, there is not a chance that this long, narrow die would have ever cut completely laying this direction. Now, if I put it this way, absolutely it would cut. I'd probably have to run it through a few times, but it would cut. But this way, I wanted to try just to see if it would cut on my first try. We will have a magnetic platform coming, in case you're wondering while you're watching along. It is not available yet, but it will be soon. Okay, so I'm going to crank this one through. And it is a little tough to crank because that whole die is going through at one time. So as soon as I got it through, I'm going to crank it back. And I laid that on my paper wrong. One edge of this cuts that floral border off and the other doesn't. I was intending it to leave this floral border attached here, so I should have flipped it around the other way. But that does not matter for what I'm showing you here. What I want to show you is whether this cut completely or not. So if I get my die brush out and roll over the top of this, all of these pieces will fall right out. So passes the test in my book. Now, just to show a sample for embossing, here's a card I made a few months ago that I've shown in my other videos as a sample. I used the Scripty embossing folder, which is one of my absolute favorites. This is one of our 3D embossing folders. And it did not emboss very well on this card. I've had other embossing folders that, for whatever reason, with that other machine, sometimes they just didn't emboss very well. So we're going to try this out. I want to show you how well this machine embosses compared to this sample I have right here. So I have my plate for 3D embossing folder. I have the base. I have my embossing folder. And I have my specialty plate. Crank this through and we will pull it out and look at the results. So I'm going to hold this up. Now keep in mind that this sample in my left hand, I sponged over this, which is why the print looks a little bit darker. But if you look past the sponging and look more at how it is raised up, over on these edges, the bottom and the sides, it's embossed pretty well. But right in this area, it just didn't really emboss. And that was pretty common with my old machine. Look at this right here. It embossed beautifully, evenly across the entire sample. So there you go. Those have been a couple of my tests to see how I like this new machine compared to the old one. It is working awesome and amazing. I love it, and I would love for you to try it out yourself. If you have questions about it, please let me know. Remember, you can add it to a starter kit with Stampin' Up and get a discount on it. Or if you bump an order up to $150, you will earn hostess credit on that order. So you can get the ordering link or the sign up link on my website at scrappingstampingandstuff.com. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you'll stop back in for the last two videos in this series about learning to die cut, learning to emboss, and how to use those items on your projects. Have a great day.